Since we're talking about communications channels, let's play a quick game. What do you find strange in each of these scenarios? A breakup happens over an Instagram DM after several months of dating. Worse than ghosting? Probably. Your bestie goes on an angry rant in a social media post about why they're not going to speak to you anymore. Your boss FaceTimes to assign you a new project. You tweet your favorite entrepreneur, asking them to be your mentor. Yikes. Talk about topsy-turvy. The reason these scenarios stand out like a sore thumb is because the type of communication channel is not appropriate for the speech act or for the message. In this video, we're going to explore the question, what channels of communication are appropriate for a particular type of message and audience? In other words, what communication channel would be best for the speech act I'd like to perform or the message I want to transmit? If you're ready to supercharge your social skills, then keep it right here. What's up, Explearners? Mary Daphne here of myexplearning.com, where we believe social skills are the key to the good life. What's the good life? It's where you call the shots, you have a crew you can count on, and you're on a mission that you care about. Now, before I dive into this video, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend and mentor, communication coach Alex Lyon, who made an awesome video on communication channels. And I'll link it in the description box below for you to check out. He highlights some of the top communications channels and how best to use them. I highly recommend it. Now, in this video, we are going to explore a framework that you can use to determine which types of communication channels you should use in what situations. This is something that you can rely on the next time you're unsure of what medium will best convey your message. As a communicator, you want to pick the most effective communication channels for your message. My goal isn't to go through every single communication channel that exists because that would take way too long. And besides, new communications channels are emerging every few months. But for illustrative purposes, I do highlight some of the channels that are most prevalent in today's society among millennials and Gen Z. More important though, I encourage you to think about the communication channels that you use most often, both now and in the future, and decide where those would fall into this framework. Once you do that, you'll be better equipped to use them appropriately to make the message transmission all the more powerful. If you're paying close attention, you'll notice that I've left out one communication channel from the framework. So stick around until the very end of this lesson where I'll share my absolute favorite communication channel and why I think it's the most important for our success and well-being. All right, time to explore. Let's start with the two questions. So, step one of the framework requires you to answer two simple questions. One, who are the recipients of the message? For example, who's your audience? And two, what is the purpose of the message? For the first question about the audience, I want you to think about their proximity to you. How close are you to them? Are they in your inner circle as a family member or a best friend? Or are they just an acquaintance, maybe a potential client, a complete stranger, or group of strangers? Each situation has a different audience, so be sure to identify it. And for the second question regarding the purpose of your message, usually our purpose is tied into an action that we'd like to perform, such as inviting someone, apologizing, making a request, giving a suggestion, making a promise, telling a joke, expressing frustration. Think carefully about what the purpose is. Now let's move on to the 3 communication contexts. Okay, now that you have those 2 questions in mind, let's take a look at step 2 of the framework, which is to determine the communication context. Our 3 communication contexts are intimate, professional, and public. Before we dive into these, you'll notice that some of the communication channels fit into more than one category. That is to be expected. If each channel fits squarely into just one category, then this would be super easy and we wouldn't need a video. But life is never really that simple. Okay, the first context, the intimate context. So the first category in this framework is called intimate because this is a context where you are engaging people who are friends, family, and part of your inner circle of trust. Thus, the nature of the message is going to be more personal, intimate, and personalized. When these people receive a communication from you, you expect them to read it and likely expect a response. It tends to be personalized, right? Because that's what the recipient would also expect. So now let's look at a few channels that allow for more intimacy and personalization. DMs on Instagram. When you send someone an Insta DM, it might be a reaction to their IG story, a private comment about their post, sharing an inside joke, or something personal that you don't want to broadcast to Instagram more broadly. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, sometimes I slide into famous people's DMs, but I don't actually know them personally. Okay, but chances are you aren't necessarily expecting a response because chances are they get a bajillion of those and won't necessarily prioritize yours. So that is an example of using an intimate form of communication in a situation where you probably shouldn't. If your goal is to engage someone like that, you're much better off with options in the professional context, which we'll get to next. But DMs to your inner circle are a quick and easy way to let someone know that you're thinking of them. The next one is the phone call. Phone calls work really well in intimate contexts. While it is more time consuming and it can require a little bit more coordination, the phone is a great way to connect with a personal touch because you hear their voice and they hear yours. The sound of a voice can make a really big difference psychologically because our brains are programmed to derive a huge amount of information from the tone and the timbre of a voice. Sure, it's much easier to text, but I can assure you that if you call up your grandmother, she'd be delighted to hear your voice. And the spontaneous nature of live conversation can take you and your friends down all sorts of fun tangents that makes this type of engagement so much fun. The next one's video chat. Video calls like Skype, WhatsApp video, and FaceTime are next level phone calls because they're as close as we can come to face-to-face communication. Because the image transmission takes up quite a bit of broadband, you might have to save this one for when you're on Wi-Fi. But while phone calls are great for catching up and connecting, I'd say that video chatting makes tremendous sense when you have some big and exciting news, like a recent engagement, a job offer, a promotion, or maybe giving someone a tour of your new digs. It works well for when you want to have a shared experience in the same moment because it is synchronous communication. That means it's happening in real time without any delays. The next one's text messaging. So we love texting, and I think one of the reasons is because it's an easy way to be in touch without being intrusive or invasive. We're talking about SMS, iMessage, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, etc. And while we expect near immediate response time we understand if that's not always the case. Mobile Squared and Single Point revealed a statistic in the white paper called Conversational Advertising that showed that 90% of text messages are read within only 3 minutes of receiving it. Talk about immediacy. We like that immediacy. So texting is great for intimate personal messages to friends, family, and people in our inner circle because it's an easy way to update people without qualms about when we get a response. The next one's digital invitations. Believe it or not, these are intimate because you get a personalized invitation. These are what you receive or send for baby showers, engagements, birthday parties, holiday and Christmas parties, etc. If you're familiar with online invitation services like Paperless Post, you can design super nice invitations and address them to each participant. And what's also great is that you'll get a quick RSVP list because it only takes the click of a button to say whether you'll be in attendance or not. One word of caution, though, is that some people expect more than just a digital invitation. For example, your best friend probably wants to know that you're engaged or are having a baby long before you throw the party or the shower. So keep your most intimate contacts in the loop through other more immediate methods. And then we have email. Email deserves an honorable mention here. It's great for putting sprawling ideas into words, for outlining travel plans, or anything where having an easily searchable written record would be very useful. Just keep in mind that if your recipient is anything like me, you're less likely to get an immediate answer. So avoid using it for anything that is urgent. Let's move on to the next context, professional context. So the next context is professional. Here, there's more distance between you and the participant. For example, it could be your boss, clients, colleagues, or general acquaintances with whom you're not yet close enough to put under the first category, the immediate category. What medium of communication best suits this context? Well, the first one's email. Email is a great way to structure ideas, communicate instructions, and outline multi-step processes. It provides a durable written record, which is handy in many business situations. But that durability means that you should put extra care and thought and attention into composing the message. Avoid email if you're sending an emotionally charged message or don't have time to write something clearly. In other words, be deliberate and disciplined with this medium of communication because once you send it, it ain't going away. The next one's phone calls. While phone calls among younger generations may be on the decline, when it comes to professional situations, a phone call can go a long way in expediting progress and strengthening important client relationships. The voice interaction significantly improves the quality and clarity of communication. If you talk to any salesperson, they'll tell you that they close more business over the phone than any other channel. And if you're doing an interview, this is a much better way to get to know somebody rather than just reading their resume. The next one is Slack, Asana, and project management software. These modern software tools are great for project collaboration and syncing up with fellow employees just to keep posted on anything that you need to know and to work together on work-related projects, right? They also provide an easy way to make institutional knowledge public or private with just a few tweaks in the settings. And they keep things organized by containing conversations to specific projects or topics. They're a great alternative to email when your communication fits neatly into a specific topic. Then we have video chat. So similar to phone calls, video calls work really well if you need to check in on your team, department, or project collaborators in a more intimate way, particularly if you are working remotely. Being able to read people's faces can be very helpful for gauging how they are feeling about a topic that's being discussed. That can make a huge difference in the outcome of a project or an interview. And that brings me to the last context, the public context. Okay, so now the goal with public communication is to connect with strangers or large groups of people. In many cases, the bigger, the better. Unlike the first two contexts, with public communications, you have much less control over the audience, and often you will have no personal connection with the individuals that make up that audience. So let's take a look at a few examples in this category. Social media posts. So here we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. This is a great way to publicize a thought or a statement. Due to its wide distribution, it's also a great way to collect feedback, both positive or negative. It can be risky though, because you will be held accountable for what you say. But that's sort of the point. Your goal is to let people know what's on your mind. This also includes commenting on other people's posts. In fact, commenting on a celebrity's post can be a great way to increase your visibility if your following isn't as large yet. The next one's knowledge databases. These are places like Quora, Reddit, and other public forums where people share their experiences and expertise with the goal of helping others and contributing to a global body of knowledge. This can be a great way to establish your credibility and develop a following on topics that you're passionate about. Even better, the higher quality your contributions are, the more visibility you will get. The next one's blogs. Blogs have been around almost as long as the internet. And believe it or not, they're still a fantastic way to broadcast information that you care about. What's really cool is that while blog posts are public, they can be inspired by the interactions you had in a more intimate or even professional context. So there's absolutely some synergy between contexts. The next one's YouTube videos. Well, we all know this one, and we know that it's near and dear to my heart. I think of YouTube as sort of a combination of social media, knowledge databases, and blogs. It really comes down to how you want to use the platform as a YouTuber, right? What I love most about it is that it enables anyone with an internet connection to plug right into the rest of the world and learn so much, all for free. And with live streams, YouTube offers a level of intimacy that you don't get with a lot of other public channels. So it's just so cool. But as with all public communication channels, be thoughtful about what you broadcast because what you say can spread quickly. Whew! All right. Well, that was a long one. Let's quickly recap. So today we explored the question of what communication channel is appropriate for what context. As we know, we need to choose a communication channel that will best reach the intended audience. To get there, we have a two-part framework. First, determine who your audience is and what the purpose of the communication is. The second thing is to establish the communication context, be it intimate, professional, or public. Once you've run through those steps, you'll be able to choose a communication channel that's appropriate for the task at hand, ensuring that your message is delivered effectively. And don't worry, I have not forgotten. At the beginning of this lesson, I said that I would reveal my favorite communication channel. Let me just start by saying that yes, I absolutely adore YouTube and I love that I get to create content for the Explearning community. But I do have to say that for me personally, face-to-face communication takes the cake. Nothing else really comes close to the power of personal interaction where all your five senses can be involved in the communication process. What's more, face-to-face communication is appropriate for every single context. Think about it. The best interaction with your friend is a face-to-face one. The most effective way to communicate complex business ideas with your colleagues or persuade your boss to give you a raise, it's face-to-face. If you're speaking publicly, an audience is always going to listen more closely if you're standing right in front of them. With face-to-face communication, everyone has made the effort to be at that place, at that time, to participate in the interaction. They've explicitly chosen to do that rather than use a more convenient form of communication. That decision demonstrates a level of commitment that ensures the highest quality and clarity of communication. And if we're talking about a psychological level, everyone derives the greatest benefit. I'm someone who loves to have those deep philosophical conversations about life, the world, and a smattering of other topics. I think it's definitely a muscle that we need to condition because in our age of screen-based communication, it's at risk of atrophying. Face-to-face is the best way to nurture relationships, get to know people well, and it does wonders for our mental health and well-being. So now I'm curious. I want to know what other communication channels you would add to these communication contexts. And I'd love to know what your favorite communication channel is and why you love it. So share those two things with me in the comments below. And if you loved this lesson, be sure to let me know. You can give this video a thumbs up on YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to join our tribe of Explearners so you never miss a lesson. And if you ring that bell, you'll get notified about new lessons and our weekly live streams. Email this video to a friend or a coworker who also wants to supercharge their social skills. And while we're at it, feel free to share it with your friends on Facebook as well. And remember, the write-up of these lessons are always available on our blog at myexplearning.com/blog. With that, have an awesome week, Explearners. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time for your next Explearning lesson. Happy Explearning!